Check.
The Honorable Dean of Faculty Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta,
Vice Deans,
all keynote speakers,
all presenters and participants,
distinguished guests,
ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. May peace be upon us.
welcome to the second day of the 9th International Conference on Research, Implementation and Education of Mathematics and Science 2022. Thank you for still being able to be here in the middle of your busy schedule and spending your weekend to this program.
Let me announce the agenda we are going to have today. We shall begin with the plenary session by keynote speakers, and this will be followed by parallel session.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be silent and bow our heads for a moment to say a prayer. Let's say our prayer. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we are at the plenary session for keynote speakers. The first presentation will begin by Dr. Eric Vance from University of Colorado Boulder, United States of America. Chairing this session is Kismiantini, PhD. As we previously know, Kismiantini PhD earned her master's degree in 2007 from Institut Pertanian Bogor, Indonesia, and her doctor in 2017 from University of Nebraska-Lincoln, United States of America.
She was the Fulbright Indonesia awardee of PhD grant in 2012 to 2015. Her expertise is statistics, and one of her profound publications is international collaborative research entitled Multi-Trait Deep Learning Models for Genome-Enabled Prediction of Traits Measured on Heterogeneous Scales in Plant Breeding. To start this session, please join us to welcome Kismiantini, PhD.
Okay, thank you, MC. Good evening, Dr. Eric Vance. Good morning, all. Honorable Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta, Professor Dr. Ariswan MSI, Honorable Vice Deans, Chairs of ICRIEMS, Isti Yunita PhD, our speakers, distinguished participants, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kismiantini. It gives me a pleasure to be a moderator for the 9th International Conference on Research, Implementation of Mathematics and Sciences, ICRIEMS 2022 in this morning. By combining expertise and resources, we can answer bigger and more complex scientific questions and expand the breadth of our research. In education, it is important to provide students with hands-on experience solving real-world problems from various fields. In today's session, we will get a closer look into the importance of collaboration for advancing both research and education. Ladies and gentlemen, first, I would like to read a brief introduction to our keynote speaker. Dr. Eric Vance is an associate professor of applied mathematics, the director of the Laboratory for Interdisciplinary Statistical Analysis, LISA, at the University of Colorado Boulder, and the global director of the LISA 2020 network, which comprises 35 statistics and data science collaboration laboratories in 10 developing countries. He is an elected member of the International Statistical Institute, ISI, and a fellow of the American Statistical Association, ASA. Dr. Eric Vance graduated with a bachelor degree with distinction as a triple major in mathematics, economics, and statistics from University of California, Berkeley in 1997. earned a Master of Statistics and Decision Sciences degree from Duke University in 2005, and hold a PhD in Statistical Science with advisor Dr. David L. Banks from Duke University in 2008. Dr. Eric Vance has been traveling to more than 80 countries. Dr. Eric Vance has a good news, and we congrats for your new baby born, Maya.
Thank you.
Before the presentation begins, let me tell you how this session will run. Firstly, keynote speaker will present the material for about 45 minutes. During the presentation, we welcome you all to write questions on charts. After that, we will continue Q&A session for approximately 30 minutes, and we will read your questions. If you want to ask directly, please click raise hand button and we will give you a time. And finally, the session will be ended by a conclusion. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to welcome Dr. Eric Vance to present the material of blending research and education via statistics and data science collaboration for about 45 minutes. Zoom is yours.
Thank you, Kismi and Tini, and thank you all for attending. This week was very special in my life because, as Kismi and Tini mentioned, 4 days ago, my daughter, Maya, was born. And 3 weeks ago, actually, my whole family had COVID. We recovered just in time to go to the hospital to have baby Maya. So I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint presentation. And let me see. Okay. Do you see the title slide?
Yes, we could see the slide very well.
Great. So this is a talk about blending research and education via statistics and data science collaboration. So a little bit first about my background is that, as mentioned before, I got my PhD in statistics from Duke University, and I've been the director of LISA, the Laboratory for Interdisciplinary Statistical Analysis, since 2008. And I started that lab at Virginia Tech, and then I moved it to my current location at the University of Colorado Boulder, USA. And LISA is the hub of a global network of statistics and data science collaboration laboratories in developing countries. Just personally, as a statistician, I have collaborated on more than 500 projects. So I work with researchers in academia, from many different fields, as well as working with businesses and government, local government and state governments. And I'm an elected member of the International Statistical Institute and a fellow of the American Statistical Association. So one of the key things about me is that I am passionate about statistics and data science because for two things. One of the best things about being a statistician is that you get to play with everybody in terms of I get to collaborate with academics and policymakers and businesses, and I get to work in biology, physics. I work in history. I get to work with people in all over lots of different fields. And that's something really special about statistics and data science, is that opportunity to collaborate across disciplines. And another thing is that statistics is so useful worldwide that I have been able to travel to do statistics and data science. So this is a photo of me in Morocco 20 years ago, and it was my first consultation was just basically at a in the middle of the desert. It was in the middle of the Sahara Desert, and I met this biologist, and we talked about some of his statistical needs. So I mentioned this travel. So international travel has been a passion of mine, and so I've been able to travel in more than 80 countries, and I've been fortunate to be able to visit Indonesia twice. So 24 years ago, and then again 10 years ago, and I will be returning next year. So 12 months from now, I'm hoping to come back to Indonesia for a third time. So I've been fortunate to have been able to merge international travel with statistics. And so I'm going to talk about statistics and data science, and then the international aspect and collaborating internationally with statistics and data science. So here's an overview. First, I'm going to be talking about the need for our students to learn collaboration and for us to teach it as educators. And then I'll briefly go through my own teaching philosophy, where I think that students really need to do statistics and data science. And then finally, I'll talk about the idea of the STAT Lab, the Statistics and Data Science Collaboration Laboratory, and how building a network of STAT labs can benefit everybody worldwide. So, my view of statistics and data science is that it enables and accelerates advances in research, business, and policy. It's useful in so many respects. And, there are many aspects of the workflow of statistics and data science. But the main idea is that we help design data production. So we help design surveys, design studies, design experiments, and then we can help collect high quality data to ensure that we have unbiased data that's the right data for the right research question. And then statisticians and data scientists model, analyze, and visualize that data. And then we need to interpret the statistical results. But then we're not done. That's half of what we should be doing. So then the next half is communicating the implications of those results and helping our collaborators solve problems and make decisions. And finally, working all the way to the end of the problem to transform the data or evidence into action for development and for the benefit of society. So I believe that statisticians and data scientists can play a major role in all of those aspects of this workflow or life cycle of data. So a key thing about statisticians and data scientists is that they have to do many things. They wear many hats. So a data scientist needs to understand statistics and computing and data visualization and algorithms and the mathematics behind the statistics. They often have to be involved in database management, and they need business acumen. If they're going to be working in industry, they need to have a good sense of what is the right question to ask, what makes the data appropriate or not appropriate to be solving certain specific problems or answering those questions. And so statisticians and data scientists need to know many things. So a base, fundamental knowledge is mathematics and statistics, and then also programming. That can be part of the data science core of skills that statisticians and data scientists must have. But they also must have data acumen. So this is, understanding what is high quality data, how data are collected, how that impacts the overall results. They also need to have domain expertise because there are many decisions that a statistician and data scientist makes during an analysis, and those decisions must be influenced, by their data acumen, their understanding of the data, but also their domain expertise. Furthermore, in nowadays, with so much data, there needs to be some element of database management, and high performance computing is important, and so on and so on. And so the idea for me is that instead of trying to teach our statisticians and data scientists everything, we really should teach them the statistics and the mathematics, the programming, the data acumen, and collaboration. Because when they learn effective collaboration, they can collaborate with experts in other fields who can provide the domain expertise. They can collaborate with database managers. And so they don't need to know everything. They can collaborate with the people who do know more. And they can collaborate with high performance computing specialists, et cetera. So as long as there is a core skill of statistics, mathematics, programming, and the data intuition, then if a statistician and data scientist can collaborate effectively, then anything that they lack, they can work with somebody else to bring that into the problem to be able to help solve that problem. So, so the alternative then to learning so much of everything is to learn effective collaboration. And when that happens, when there is a collaborative statistician and they get the proper training, mentoring, and support, that statistician or data scientist can work on many different projects and enable and accelerate research projects, help governments make better decisions, support non-governmental organizations, business, and industry. So, lesson number one is that our students really should learn collaboration. And we can do that throughout the curriculum in statistics and data science. So I'm going to move on now to my second major point, which is that students of statistics and data science, and really students of all fields, should prepare in the classroom. They should practice the theory and methods of their field, and then they should do it. So in statistics and data science, that's really important to actually work with real data, solve real problems. That's the doing. And part of my educational philosophy is that we should encourage our students and give them the skills to reflect on how well they do their statistics and data science, and provide opportunities to mentor others. And we should do this throughout their statistics and data science education. And so, again, the idea of preparing is that they learn theory and methods in the classroom. They do homework exercises. That's practicing some of the statistics. But then to do it, they need to collaborate with real people on real projects. And that's potentially the biggest challenge. And so I will be talking about how we can, as universities, create opportunities for students to collaborate on real projects. And once they have collaborated on these real projects, then they should reflect on their learning and mentor others in the doing of statistics and data science. So, lesson number 2 is that our students should do data science. Now, probably the problem, the biggest hurdle, is how do we actually teach our students collaboration and provide them opportunities to do data science? It was not obvious to me when I started my career in academia how we can teach collaboration. Although when I started it was obvious to me how we can provide students the opportunities to do statistics and data science. And I'll explain that in the next slide. So the idea is that we can create a statistics and data science collaboration laboratory, or stat lab. And then the stat lab is a way to both teach collaboration and provide opportunities to do the statistics, to do the data science, to apply what they learn in the classroom to solve a real world problem. So stat labs have 3 missions. This is my definition of a stat lab, my conception of it. The first mission is to train statisticians and data scientists to become effective interdisciplinary collaborators who can move between theory and practice. They can use what they learn in the classroom to apply it to a real world problem. A stat lab is also created to make the space to transform academic evidence into action. So it's a space for collaboration. It's actually infrastructure at the university, just like the university library is infrastructure to support research, to support education. A stat lab is that place that combines people from lots of different fields to transform evidence into action. And the third mission of a stat lab is to teach short courses and workshops to improve statistical skills and data literacy widely. There are so many people in many fields where they're not able to do everything that they want to do in their own field because they lack statistics or they lack facility with data. And so we can both collaborate with those people as statisticians. We can provide the statistical expertise to help them achieve their research goals. And we can also teach short courses to help a large number of people improve their statistics skills and therefore improve their academic outcomes. So a stat lab has 7 components. And I will just briefly go through a few of these components. The idea is that a stat lab, the heart of a stat lab is their mission or their goals or their objectives. And so for my stat lab, its name is LISA, it's the Laboratory for Interdisciplinary Statistical Analysis. Our mission is to use the lab to train our students, so to give them the opportunities to do statistics and data science. It's also, our mission is to help teach them collaboration. And then our mission is to transform evidence into action for the benefit of society. So that's what drives us. The backbone of our organization, would be the administration, how we are structured within the university. The muscles are the students and the other faculty members involved in the stat lab. And a really key thing is to develop those muscles, to develop our personnel, to train them well. And because when our students are trained well, they do really good work, and that looks good on our lab, on our department, in our college and faculty and the university. And then, the head, the brain of a stat lab are the services that we provide. So we meet with researchers, we do some walk-in consultations, and we teach short courses. legs, or going around the university, advertising our services, letting people know that we exist. The blood that keeps us going is the support that we get from our department and university. And then what we see on the outside are the impacts and outcomes of the stat lab. So this is a photo of the people who were the students and faculty who were in the stat lab a few years ago, back at my initial university, Virginia Tech. What I like about this photo is at this time we had 18 collaborators in LISA. 6 were from Africa, 6 were from Asia, and 6 were from North America. So it was it was a very international mix just within our own lab. So the way that we teach collaboration and that we prepare our students is that we begin with a course in statistical collaboration. And this is for senior students. It's their capstone course. It's also for graduate students, so master's and PhD students who are going to be needing these skills after they graduate. So the skills that the students learn is they first prepare and practice collaboration using a framework that I have developed called the ASCR framework. And so there are 5 components of that framework. And there are 5 essential components of interdisciplinary collaboration. There's the attitude that we have, that we are here to help the domain expert achieve their research or policy goals, and that through collaboration we can both achieve more than either of us could alone. So that's an important attitude as a statistician or data scientist, that we usually do not create or collect the data that we analyze. And so we need to collaborate with other people to give us interesting data to work on. And if we want to make an impact on society, we can't do that just in our own offices or as theoretical statisticians or data scientists. We must actually collaborate with other people to transform evidence into action. So that's part of an attitude that collaborative statisticians and data scientists have. And this is an attitude that I educate my students about. The second component is structure. So we have a way to structure specific meetings that we have with domain experts. It's very complicated to meet somebody new for the first time and to learn about their field and to learn enough about it to be able to give them strong statistical advice or to be able to analyze their data. And so there's a very specific structure that we use that helps my students and myself navigate the meeting well and make the meeting very productive. And so if we have productive meetings with the domain experts with whom we collaborate, then we can have a very effective collaboration with them. The third component of the ASCR framework is the content. So this is what are we actually doing in terms of the statistics, in terms of the domain, in terms of the science. And I do have a framework for that, where we talk about the qualitative aspects first of the project. What is the research question? How will the answer be used? These are qualitative questions. How were the data collected? These are some qualitative questions that we address first, and then we move to quantitative, call that Q2. Quantitatively, we model the data, we analyze it, we come up with some findings. But then Q3 is again qualitative. So it starts qualitative, then we move to quantitative, then we go to qualitative to answer that research question or put our findings into practice, make recommendations and conclusions. There are two more aspects of the ASCR framework for collaboration. Communication is the next one, and that is, of course, very important. We need to ask great questions. We need to explain statistics to non-statisticians. We must listen, paraphrase, summarize. So there are many aspects of communication that are very important for statistics and data science and for interdisciplinary collaboration in general. And then the final part of our, basically the curriculum of collaboration is relationship. Relationships are key to collaboration. And so we have some tips for developing strong relationships and sustaining those relationships. So this is what the students learn and practice in a course on collaboration. And just a citation for this paper, this is described in the 2019 paper, which actually won the Best Paper of the Year award in the Journal of Statistics Education. In 2 years ago, it won the Best Paper of the Year award. And it's open access if anybody is interested in that overview of collaboration skills. So, as I mentioned, the students prepare for and they practice collaboration using this framework, and they actually do role plays. We practice in the classroom. We have conversations, and that's the preparation and practice. And then students do statistics and data science on real projects. So we have pairs of students meeting with a real domain expert. So a domain expert could be a PhD student from biology or a PhD student from social sciences, or a faculty member, a professor, from the social sciences, may come to LISA, and they meet with two of these statisticians and data scientists. So they're often two students. Sometimes I meet with a student and the domain expert. And we together, the statistics and data science collaborators help the domain expert answer their research questions, or if they come from government, to make data-driven policy decisions, or to make data-driven business decisions if they come from industry. And so in this course that I teach, it's a 15-week course, and students, they will work on 3 real projects. And so we have, last year we had 116 projects coming into LISA. And these were projects in all different fields and also in the private sector. So the students will do collaboration. So they will provide advice sometimes. They usually will find out what the problem is, translate the domain problem into a statistics problem, then analyze the data to solve that statistics problem, and then translate that statistical answer back into the answer to the domain. So the answer to the research question. And then students will reflect on their collaboration projects. So, sometimes I will meet with them and talk with them about a project that they just completed or a meeting that they just had. We also video record meetings with domain experts, and we have a process for, it's called video coaching and feedback sessions. And so we provide coaching to the students, and they also reflect on what went well or what they could improve the next time that they meet with a domain expert. And finally, as part of my pedagogical philosophy 2020, so experienced students will mentor beginning students. And so I mentioned that the students are in pairs, and so ideally the pair would have a senior experienced student with a beginning student, and then that senior student has the opportunity to mentor the beginning student and to help that beginning student improve their collaboration skills and also, guide them in the statistics or data science that they do. So last year, these are the students that I had in LISA last year, and so there were 21 students, 20 students and one faculty member, plus me, so 2 faculty members. And so again, our primary mission is to train statisticians and data scientists to help researchers, businesses, and policymakers transform evidence into action. And so I have a few projects. These are not our most interesting projects or most relevant necessarily, but just this gives you a flavor of what are some projects that we work on. So there's a researcher, a faculty member in mechanical engineering who studies the bones of mice who have gone into space. And the idea is to understand how space travel affects the growth of bones, first in mice and then later in humans. So it's research that's important, for the future, if there will be long-term space flight. And so as the statistician, I worked to help analyze the data, comparing the mice that went up into space versus those who did not, and the growth, comparing growth curves for the different categories of mice. And then I had some students who worked on a spatial analysis of a scan. There was a scan of the bones. And so they were able to really understand the very specific effects of space flight on bone growth. So that's one, kind of an interesting project that Lisa worked on. Another project was with a historian. So we work with engineers, we work with people in the humanities and the social sciences, in the natural sciences as well. This project, just briefly, was to understand where enslaved people came from in Africa before they boarded slave ships that sent them to Brazil, to Cuba, to the United States. And so the historians understand, they have a good record of where people came from, which port they came from, but that doesn't mean that they know where within Africa they came from. And so we developed a statistical and mathematical model that uses a lot of historical data to, for the very first time, come up with some maps of where people originated from, subsequently enslaved in Africa 100 or 200 years ago. This project is an engineering project where the engineers were trying to calibrate photodiodes, and there's some complicated physics involved, but they needed help to understand what were outliers and what were not outliers. And so my statistics students were able to really help them come up with a way that did not use too many assumptions, and was a way for them to detect when there was an outlier in these results. One more example, this was in biology. So there's a biologist who was trying to understand birds and if why birds were in big flocks versus small flocks. And there's a disease component. Bigger groups of birds will maybe be more able to get food, but they also might be spreading disease more quickly. And so she found that the older birds are actually more likely to live in the smaller colonies because they already know how to they can get their own food and they don't spread disease as much. We also work with education researchers to compare groups of students and to understand the statistical impacts of interventions. We help design surveys. That's very important in in certain lines of research. So as statisticians and data scientists, we have skills that are applicable to many different fields in business, in policy, and in some of these scientific applications. So now how is it that we do this? And so the idea is that we create a stat lab, and these stat labs can become engines for development. So if the stat lab educates and trains the collaborative statisticians and provides that space for collaboration, and then teaches some statistics and data science, to many people, to make people more aware of statistics and what they can do on their own and when they need to come in for expert help. All of that together helps create new knowledge. And then when we take it to the end, then we transform evidence into action, for the benefit of society. And so this is the way, these are the major components. One other way to think about this is that stat labs really can become engines for development by first focusing on training students and staff. When our students are well trained, then they provide really good service to domain experts who then are able to do more things with their data. They're able to solve more problems. The word will get around and more people will come in to the stat lab, which gives us then more opportunities for students to practice their collaboration, to do data science. And so then they get better at that, and they then provide even better service and have even more impacts. And when those impacts are known, then the idea is that the university supports the stat lab more, and we have more communication, and we get even more projects, and so we can train even more students and have them have more opportunities to practice their skills, to transform evidence into action. And so this is a positive feedback loop that eventually leads to development impacts where we have really important projects getting the statistics and data science expertise that they deserve. So here's the idea is that stat labs are engines for development, and that a stat lab trains students who work with domain experts, and then those domain experts, those projects that they work on, have impacts of hundreds, thousands, or millions of people worldwide. And so, some of the benefits of creating and sustaining the stat lab are that it provides the opportunities for students to do real data science. It gives them really good training in the practice of statistics and data science. And so they feel good that they made an impact. They helped a real person solve a real problem. And they use that experience to get really good jobs and have fulfilling careers. So one of the stat labs in Africa that I helped to start, one of their graduating students was one of 2,000 people to apply for a statistician position in the government. There was one position open, and there were 2,000 applications. And the student from our stat lab got that position, and it was because of the projects that he worked on as a student. He had real experience. He was, a real expert in statistics and collaborative statistics, and using statistics to transform evidence into action. And he was the one person out of more than 2,000 applicants to get that job. So the stat lab really benefits students. It also benefits the domain experts who come in for the statistics and data science help. So it helps them do better research. It helps them ask more questions. It helps them get the most out of their data. And that results in high impact publications in academia. And it also results in better policy if it's a local government who's using data to make decisions about where to focus on in their government activities. Graduate students in other fields really excel. So they publish papers, they graduate faster, they get great jobs and contribute to society because they've learned more statistics, they have more tools, and they are able to do really good work in their graduate career. One very quick story that I visited a university in South Sudan, the University of Juba, and they told me this, the story of a student. He was a graduate student in pharmacy. He was a master's student, and for 9 months he had been struggling to solve a problem, for his thesis, and he could not solve the problem, and he got so frustrated that he decided to drop out of school. Before he could drop out, he had to go to the registrar to officially withdraw, and he told the registrar about this problem, that he just could not complete his research. And the registrar found out that the problem was a statistics problem. And it was so frustrating that the student wanted to drop out. But the registrar said, before you drop out, let's go visit my friend. He's a statistician. Let's go to the statistics department. And they met with the statistician, and 45 minutes later, the problem was solved. And so that's just an example of the benefits of a stat lab, on other students, postgraduate students around the university. It helps them publish papers, graduate faster, and then contribute to society. Stat labs help the statistics faculty advance in their careers. It provides opportunities for publication, gives us co-authorships in high-impact journals. And all of these things then lead to increased prestige and impact for the department and for the university. So I have just one more quick point, and that's to discuss the international collaboration of LISA 2020. So our vision was to build statistical analysis and data science capacity to transform evidence into action, and to do that worldwide. Our goal, this was started 10 years ago, our goal was to create a network of 20 stat labs in developing countries by the year 2020. And so that's where the name LISA 2020 came about. We wanted 20 labs by 2020. And so we had actually 28 labs by 2020, and now our network is 35 or 36 members strong. We have stat labs in South Asia, in Africa, and in Brazil. And I really believe that this idea of stat labs can work in Indonesia. And so, I'm hoping that there will be, in 10 years from now, a really strong network of stat labs that can unite, the various islands of Indonesia under this idea of using statistics and data science to benefit society. So this network that I have mentioned, the LISA 2020 network, it really is a network where we learn from each other. So labs can share best practices. In May, we had a we had an in-person symposium in Ghana, in West Africa, where we had 90 people from 10 countries coming, and we shared what worked well in one lab, and that really gave ideas for all of the other 34, 35 other labs to see, would this work in my lab? Being part of the network increases our global collaborations and our connections. We first have local solutions to global problems, and then we collaborate to have global solutions to global problems. And these can lead to high impact international publications. We share resources across the network, so we keep up to date on advances in statistics and data science and share teaching and learning resources. And we've started exchanging personnel between labs. And so I've had some of my American students who have gone to Africa. I've had some African faculty who have visited Brazil. There's Indian faculty who have visited in Africa. And so we have, connections back and forth, and a lot of the faculty have actually been able to come to work with me in Boulder. And being part of this network is also leading to increased prestige and impact for the department and for the university. So this is now my final slide. No, it's not my final slide. It's my penultimate slide. But I am planning to come to IPB next year. And here's a picture in the middle of yesterday when we brought my daughter Maya home from the hospital. So that was just yesterday. She's 4 days old. And so in a year from now, I'm hoping that you'll be able to, that I will be visiting Yogyakarta and in person, and that you'll be able to meet my son Max, my wife Nina, and little baby Maya, who won't be such a baby anymore. Okay, so in conclusion, we can blend research and education via statistics and data science collaboration. So lesson number one is that our students should learn collaboration, and our students should do statistics and data science, and that we can create stat labs, individual labs, and then the network of labs to help our students learn collaboration and do statistics and data science and ultimately benefit society. So thank you so much for your attention. And I am looking forward to engaging with questions and answers.
Fans? Sorry. Thank you very much, Dr. Eric Fans, for an outstanding presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, we will come to Q&A session. I will read some questions. I will share my screen. The first question from Miranda Saraswati, Universitas Indonesia. In terms of creating statistical data and data science collaboration, laboratory stat lab, so what do you think is the most difficult for students to do and how to solve it? Okay, please, Doctor.
Sure. So I think for beginning students, the
I'm sorry, Dr. Fence, we couldn't hear. No? Oh, okay, that's good.
okay. So for beginning students, what they are most afraid of, or what they are most anxious about, is the technical components. So they're afraid of a domain expert coming and asking them a very complicated statistical technical question, and then they don't know the answer. So that's one thing that I think the students are anxious about. And so what I teach my students is that they are not expected to answer, first of all, they're not expected, their main goal should be to try to help the researcher answer their research questions, not the statistics questions. Like the statistics is a part of the pathway towards answering the research question. But the expectation for my students is that they use the first meeting to understand the research question. And then when they understand the research question, then they can start thinking about statistics. And they don't have to have a statistical answer for that first meeting. So what they can do is they can come back to class, and in the next class period, if they understand the research question really well, then they explain it to class, and they explain what kind of data there are. Then the entire class can start brainstorming about the statistics. We can give suggestions about the statistical, the technical statistics. And so then maybe the next week, there's a meeting with the domain expert again. And then by that time, the students have the statistical answer. So I think that's what beginning students are most afraid of, is not having the technical skills. But then the point is that the students can learn the technical skills. And so I've had many examples. One example is a student explained a problem, and one of the suggestions from another student was to use random forests. So random forests is like a machine learning technique, a data mining technique, and the student had heard of it but didn't really know it. And so then the student just learned the random forest technique and was able to apply it on that real problem and then explain it to the researcher. And that was a great way for the student to learn a new statistical technical skill. And it was much more effective to learn it through this collaborative way than from a homework assignment or from a textbook. So for beginning students, they really feel anxious about the technical aspects. And so, by taking the pressure off, that really helps to, say that they can always say, I don't know the answer to that question. I will ask my professor, I will talk to my peers, I will look in my textbooks, and I will get back to you. So that's how we overcome that. For advanced students or professionals, I think that the collaboration structure is something that they lack. And so if they actually take time to read about the ASCR framework, then the even advanced, experienced statisticians and data scientists can become better collaborators, and that helps them. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Eric Vance. We will move to the next questions. question from Mr. Ezra Putranda. Thanks for your great presentation. I really appreciate your pedagogical philosophy for statistics. The questions related to the statistical collaboration. Can students choose a domain what they want, or should they collaborate on any available project? Which type of collaboration that works well for students? Students ask consultants, for example, collecting data or giving suggestion on data analysis only, or students join the project from the early conceptual stage. Should several group of students solve same project or problem so that the result can be compared and combined, or should them do different project?
Okay, these are excellent questions. So the way that it works for Lisa is that we have a website, and so a domain expert fills out an online form, and then during class I read the main components of the form, and then I ask for volunteers. So I think I think that any student can work on any project, but they do better when it's a project that they're really interested in. So, there's two things about a project that might interest a student. One is the potential statistical, like the technical aspect. So maybe the domain expert will ask some questions about technical statistics, like maybe they'll mention regression, let's just say. And then the student's like, oh, I've learned about regression. I feel really good about this. I want to work on that project. That's one possibility. But then more likely is that it's a problem that the student is interested in. And so if the student really likes birds, and there's a biologist who has a research question about birds and using data, then that student will volunteer to be, yes, I want to work on that project. So I encourage volunteers so that the students work on the projects that they want to work on. Another thing that we do is that we advertise our services early in the semester. And so the students pick the departments that they might want to work with. So if they have if they really like political science, then they will send an email to the political science department introducing themselves and Lisa and asking for some projects to come in. And so in that way, we end up getting more of the projects that interest more of the students. So that's my answer to the first question. Then for the second question, what works well, which type of collaboration? So, there are many, as you know, there are many stages of a project, of a statistics or data science project. And I always like to be at the early stage and to help define the research question, and then maybe, understand, given a good understanding of the research question, what kind of data would answer that question. Maybe it's a survey. So then if it is a survey, then, what data do we need to answer the research questions? So then what survey questions do we ask to collect that data? I really like being involved in the early stages. For students, that's not as, I don't think that's as effective, because the students don't have as much of a broader scientific understanding of a field to be able to help with the research design. And so, for most students, the best stage is analyzing the data. So the data are already collected, and the student helps analyze it, visualize it, come up with plots or tables, and then helps interpret the results. But for the best students, being early in the project is preferable. One other component to this is that I am around for a long time at the university. So I can work on the conceptual stage in 1 year, and the next year can help work on the analytical, and then the next year can help work on the writing up for publication. So maybe a project lasts for 3 years. Well, for the students, they've already graduated by 3 years. And so having a project at the conceptual stage can be nice, but then they leave before they see the end of the project. So for the last question, I think, so the way that I do it is that each group of students solves a different problem. And in that way, they get experience dealing with a real person, and then also the data and the statistics involved. But I also have enough projects for that to happen. So I think at the beginning of a stat lab, you won't have 116 projects that come into the stat lab, like Lisa had last year. Back in my previous institution, we had 400 projects every year. And so there were, so the students worked on lots and lots of projects. So if you only have, let's say, 5 projects, then I think it is a really nice strategy to have different groups of students solving the same project, because as you know, they will have different solutions, and then comparing them and eventually combining them will give a really good solution to the domain expert. And so the domain expert has to be willing to meet with different groups of students. Another possible way to have this happen is that I've done this before, where the domain expert comes to class and I talk with the domain expert, and instead of me asking the domain expert questions, I let the students ask the questions. And so, in that way, then maybe 3 or 4 students will ask questions, and they get good experience. But it's not the same as if it were just 2 students with the domain expert, because then those students will be asking, instead of 1 question each, they would be asking 20 questions. And so when you have the individual collaboration, then you really work on the collaboration skills. It's not just the data analytics skills. But in summary, I think either way, and some combination can work. And the bottom line is that anytime a student is working on a real problem, they're going to be benefiting. And so if it's the same problem as other students, that's fine. If it's a different problem, that's fine too.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Eric Vance, and thank you, Pak Izra. A question from Asma Khairunisa. Regarding domain expertise, should a data scientist or statistician have deep understanding about a domain or a medium understanding about several domains?
So this is an interesting question, and I think again either way works well. I came into the field of statistics because I liked to work on lots of different projects. And so just one example is my PhD dissertation was, I developed a model, a social network model for elephants. And so I developed a model. So I collaborated with an ecologist who had data on which elephants in Africa were together and which ones were not together. And there were questions about if related elephants are going to be more likely to be seen together than non-related elephants. And so I had read about a statistical model that had been applied to political science for a network model for political science. And then I used that, political science model and then adapted it to biology to make sense for the biology. And so I know a medium amount about many, many, many different things. And I am able, because of that, to make lots of connections between fields and to use something that I learn in one field and bring it to another one, to another field. So I think that's my strength. And so that's what I like. But then having a deep understanding of a domain is also very powerful if you're working in that domain. I think somebody who has a PhD in either in a domain field or statistics, and then a master's degree in the other field can be really, really, really powerful because they have a really deep understanding of the domain. And so I think both lead to having high impact.
Thank you, Dr. Eric Vance, and thank you, Asma Khairunisa. We'll move to the next questions. Question from Fatima Binti Abdullah. What a very insightful presentation, Dr. Vance. Is the domain expert come from the real industry or stakeholders? If yes, how to make them believe that students, instead of senior data scientists, can solve their problems?
So another excellent question. I was reading the reviews, reading the feedback from domain experts from this past semester, from my spring semester, and there was a nonprofit group that came into LISA for help, and the comment was, I've worked with students on student projects, very often, and usually the most benefit is for the student, but they don't really, benefit my project a lot, but I'm okay with that. With LISA, I've had to recalibrate my expectations because the students were so much better than I expected. They got me thinking about new things and, even solved my problems, but also got me thinking about, about bigger problems. And so I can use that as a testimonial so that, if an industry person, thinks about using LISA, they might see that, that actually the students are really, really good and can solve their problem. And so it's a balance. So I think when word gets around, so after a few years, your stat lab will build up a reputation. If you focus on training the students and the students do a really good job, and part of their attitude should be that they need to do a good job on this project so that the stat lab gains in prestige, so that in the future, it will become stronger. And that's an attitude that they could be having. And so, so I think once the reputation grows, then industry will realize that the students actually can solve their problems. And it's really a great opportunity for somebody in business to test out the students. Like maybe they offer the student a job after graduation, or maybe the student is like, no, I'm getting a better job than what you can offer me. Anyway, that's my answer to this question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Fatima, for your questions. Next, a question from Yunita Vera Rahmawati. How can we prepare the students to collaborate effectively with domain experts?
Great. So the process that I use is my students read about collaboration. They do exercises in class. I actually teach using team-based learning. And so the students are always in the same team and they're debating each other and arguing between teams and actually collaborating within their team in the classroom on the material of collaboration. So that's kind of the prepare and the practice. And then still some of that preparation is I have students observe a meeting, and that's really easy to do now with Zoom. I have lots of Zoom meetings with domain experts. And so I will have a meeting with a domain expert and I'll have 10 students observing it on Zoom. So every student will observe a meeting before they do the real thing. And so that's part of the preparation, is that there's like the theoretical preparation of reading the theory, and then there's the practice in the classroom of having conversations. One student pretends to be the domain expert, the other student pretends to be the statistician, and they have a conversation, and then they switch, and then there's a third student who gives them feedback. And so practicing like that, and then having them observe a meeting, and then having them do it. So they actually do real collaborations, and then they reflect on that. So that's part of my pedagogical philosophy of prepare, practice, do, reflect, and mentor. So we 2 or 3 times per semester, we will watch small clips, short clips from a video recorded meeting, or we maybe record a Zoom meeting. So we watch 2 minutes at the beginning, 2 minutes at the middle, 3 minutes at the end, and then the students can see what they did well, what they did not do well. But then the other students can see what the other students are doing and can use that experience to improve their own collaboration skills. And finally, when the Stat Lab is built up and well established, then there will be some graduate students who have lots of good experience, and they can mentor the beginning students. And so the very first time a student sees a LISA meeting, they're observing, and then they do a real meeting, but maybe they're not leading the meeting. Maybe it's an experienced student who's helping them. And then maybe their second real meeting, the roles are reversed, where the senior student is just taking a back seat, and providing guidance when needed. And then their third project is 2 beginning students, and they really work well together, and having all of that preparation practice, and then the doing and the reflecting, and then finally, when they're senior students, they can do the same thing for junior students and mentor the junior students, and that helps themselves even get better as collaborators.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Vance, and thank you, Yunita Vera Rahmawati from UNY. We have question from Fajar Hardoyono, UIN Purwokerto. Data science based on statistical techniques develop rapidly as the solution for development and technology that use big data and artificial intelligence. For student and beginner researcher, what is the most elementary statistical software to elaborate the data science easily?
So I am a big proponent of R, the language R. It's open source, which means that when there is a new technique, there's somebody out there in the world who puts that new technique, into code for everybody else to be able to use. And so I like R, and I'm fortunate that I'm also able to, I teach freshmen, first year students, I teach them R. So then when I get them as a senior, so as a fourth year student, as a capstone student, when I get them at their end of their undergraduate career in the capstone course of statistical collaboration, they already have good statistical software, statistical computing, and so that's my answer is R. To me, is the best.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Vance, and thank you, Fajar Hardoyono. We have last questions from Iskandar UNY. What are the minimum equipment material for building stat lab? And what are the minimum computer specification? And what are the common software use? I think you have answered the last one. Okay.
Great. I'm really glad that this question was asked. So the major component of a stat lab is the personnel. It's the human resources. So it's a well-trained statistician or data scientist. So they have good technical skills, and they have now the collaboration skills to be able to move between theory and practice to make an impact. And so the minimum equipment for a stat lab is, well, and this has even changed because of the pandemic, but pre-pandemic, I would say that the minimum was to have a meeting room with a round table and a computer. So any kind of computer, just a laptop would work as well. So a round table, a laptop, and a whiteboard, right? So something to be able to write notes, to write questions on a whiteboard. That's for in-person collaborations. So a stat lab is not a room full of computers. We don't need 20 computers. We just need one computer to be able to look at the data, to maybe, usually in meetings, we don't do a lot of coding because it's very hard to code when somebody's looking over your shoulder. So, just loading the data might take 15 minutes, and we usually don't have enough time. Well, we usually don't have enough time to do that in a meeting. But often the domain expert will bring her laptop, and she'll have the data, and maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet, and that's really helpful to be able to see how the data are organized, to be able to see what the rows are, what the columns are. So minimum equipment is a room with a round table and a computer, maybe a laptop, and any computer will do. Nowadays, so I have had a few in-person meetings, but most of my meetings are still over Zoom. And so I don't need a room. I don't need a table. I use a Google document to take notes. So I share that with the domain expert so they can see what I'm typing and they can add to that. So it's very minimal equipment. And in terms of the software, I use R, and there are many domain experts who actually learn R and use it, but most of the domain experts don't know R, and that's okay. So if they come in with an Excel spreadsheet, then I can import it into R, I can do the statistics, I can explain it, I can make the plots, and that's what the domain expert wants often. Sometimes they want to be able to recreate the statistics. And so if they are using a software, maybe they use SPSS, maybe they use SAS or eViews, or maybe they're just using Excel. Still, in that case, what my students do is they they do the analysis in the language that they're most comfortable in. So that's R, maybe it's Python. And then they figure out, maybe through a Google search, how to do the same thing in the software that the domain expert is most familiar with. And that's often, it's pretty easy to do. For example, if there's a regression problem, well, I can do the regression really well in R, and I come up with the results, and then I can figure out how to guide the domain expert to do the same thing in SPSS, and then we can compare answers. And if our answers are the same, then I feel confident that the method that we used in SPSS works. So those are the answers to those questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vance, and thank you, Pak Iskandar. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally come to the end part of the first keynote speech in day 2 of the 9 ICRIEMS 2022. Before I close this session, I would like to invite Dr. Eric Vance to give some short closing remark. Please.
So your questions were excellent. So that gives me a good feeling that you were engaged with my talk. So I'm very happy, for this experience. And I am hoping again I am planning to be in Indonesia next year. And so one of my goals is to be able to visit universities around the country and to find out what is happening in statistics and data science education at your university, and to be able to give another talk about the idea of creating a stat lab, and even maybe giving a workshop on collaboration and a workshop on how to create a stat lab. And so the idea is that I will be going to IPB, and in Bogor, I will be helping them create a stat lab and translating some of the methods that I've developed for collaboration pedagogy into the Indonesian context. So both in terms of language, but also in terms of what works in the culture, the academic culture of Indonesia. And then, a colleague from IPB and myself hopefully will be able to visit your university and give a workshop on collaboration, give a workshop on creating the statistical collaboration laboratory. And so then, in 5 years, in 2 years, in 3 years, 5 years, there will be more stat labs developed that will help students do data science, prepare them for real jobs and great jobs, and will improve the research and the policymaking and the business, ultimately improving the development of local communities. And then when we have this network if we have multiple stat labs established throughout Indonesia, then there can be collaborations between stat labs, and there can be really good, powerful solutions to help, sustainable development of the country. So I look forward to potentially meeting some of you in person in 2023 and 24. So thank you again for the opportunity to present to you, and I wish you having a great rest of your conference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the concise closing remarks, Dr. Eric Vance. We are looking forward to meeting you next year, and we welcome you to come to Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta and some universities around this province. Okay, The committee would like to give you a virtual certificate. So on behalf of the committee, the 9 ICRIEMS 2022, we would like to thank you to Dr. Eric Vance for your wonderful speech this morning. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so please give our applause to Dr. Eric Vance. All right, so see you all, and thank you very much for your attention. And I offer to MC. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving to the last presentation of plenary session. We would like to kindly invite Dr. Pat Nurma Yunita Indrianti, Master of Science from Universitas 11 Maret, Indonesia, to deliver her presentation. Chairing this session is Dr. Laifa Rahmawati, MPD. Dr. Laifa Rahmawati, MPD, earned her master's degree and doctor from Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta. Her expertise is learning media development. Her latest publication is Analysis of Students' Understanding Level and Digital Health Literacy Access in Vocational High School in Yogyakarta. Dr. Laifa Rahmawati, MPD, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the day 2 in second session of the NAIMS International Conference on Research Implementation of Mathematics and Science, or ICRIEMS 2022. This annually international conference held by Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta. I'm Laifa Rahmawati. It gives me a great pleasure to be the moderator for this session. Ladies and gentlemen, STEM has been widely recognized as a solution to be taught to students so that it becomes a solution bridge between theoretical knowledge and how to apply it as a technology project. However, not all of teachers with the previous mindset are fully ready and able to capture the opportunity for the goodness of STEM. Even more, to teach it to students who will be taught. Therefore, this is where our keynote speaker will talk about STEM learning. Ladies and gentlemen, first, I'd like to read a brief introduction to our keynote speaker in this science education session. Dr. Pat Nurma Yunita Indrianti. She is an associate professor of Department of Science Education, Universitas 11 Maret, Indonesia. Dr. Pat Nurma Yunita graduated with a bachelor degree in chemistry education from Universitas Negeri Semarang in 2005, holds a Master of Environmental Science from Unika Sugiya Pranata in 2007, and a Master of Inorganic Chemistry from Universitas Gadjah Mada in 2011. And she is also graduated with a doctorate of chemistry education from Universität Münster, Germany, and at 2016. Dr. Pat Nurma Yunita recent research is about STEM and automated scoring using web-based assessment as artificial intelligence optimization. Ladies and gentlemen, before the presentation begins, let me tell you how this session will run. Firstly, keynote speaker will present the material for about 60 minutes. During the presentation, we welcome you all to write questions on chat room. After that, we will have question and answer or discussion session for approximately 30 minutes. If you want to ask directly, please click raise hand button on the discussion session. So we will give you a time. And finally, the session will be ended by a conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to welcome Dr. Pet Norma Yunita Indrianti to present the material of From Practice to Challenge, Strengthening an Authentic, Collaborative, and Transformative Model for Reservist Science Teachers Toward STEM Learning for about 60 minutes. Dr. Norma Yunita, the Zoom is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Ibu Laifa, could you hear my voice clearly?
Okay.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, could you hear my voice clearly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And now is that my PowerPoint text is displayed completely?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
please.
Thank you very much, because I just activate another button here. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Laifa, for the time. Good morning, everybody, and good evening for Dr. Eric friends that's still here together with us. This morning, it's very honored for me to come to this 9 ICRIEMS 2022, invited by the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta. The Honorable Dean of FMIPA, UNY, and then also the Honorable of Vice Dean, FMIPA UNY, and of course, the Chairman of the 9th ICRIEMS 2022. Today, I'm going to talk and then to discuss about From Practice to Challenge. This is one of the research that my research group is conducting, but strengthening an authentic, collaborative, transformative model for pre-service science teachers towards STEM learning. Yeah. Now, before I go to the next one, I'm going to have a short introduction. Dr. Laifa has already introduced me. Yes, I'm a teaching staff at Universitas 11 Maret in Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. Universitas 11 Maret since 2006, sorry, 2006, not 2016. And I work many projects in STEM research group in Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. And also when I was a PhD students, I also joined the MIN program in Germany. MIN is for STEM in German language. So it is meant that from mathematics, engineer, natural Wissenschaft, and also technique. And now I'm also the head of science education department in Universitas 11 Maret. Yeah. Okay, that's a brief about me. And then when you have already visited Surakarta, Surakarta is also one of the city in Central Java. You can come and then you can just enjoy, and then please drop by in Universitas 11 Maret in Peng River of Bengawan Solo. Okay, the outline of my presentation is about STEM education and STEM practice in Indonesia, professional development program, yes, in global view, and of course science teachers professional development, practice in professional development that we are conducting now in our research group, and also the challenges to improve the quality of the professional development. Yeah. Okay. As we can see, STEM, right? You know, UNY is also outstanding research in STEM is also very, very good and excellent. we know that STEM is from science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This is as a one unifying concept. And as you can see that every country with the STEM policy, they try to nurture the generation with so they can come to the STEM field. I mean that, as we know, how about the country can develop, the country can be have a power, have the economical power in this world, is because this STEM workforce. We know the first is Uni Soviet, and then Russia, and then United States, and also now some countries is also growing because they have a very good STEM workforce. I mean, the generation come to the STEM as their career, and then they are very strong with the STEM one. Yeah. Okay. And now this some of the background, right? Like as I mentioned, industry workforce, and then educational providers. We know that the quality of education system in a country that assessed by PISA, assessed by TIMSS, is one of the contribution also that we develop the STEM learning, and also the government policy. Yeah, instead of Indonesia not really explicit to have this STEM in the curriculum, but we are very eager to go there. As you know, now in curriculum Merdeka, the independent curriculum, we know that the project is the main things, as the main activity, how to support the intracurricular activity. Yes, and of course the second one, the fourth one is the economic growth. The economic growth of the countries, just consider with the quality of the STEM generation. And of course, we are, as developing countries, not want to go back, and not want to go at least in the international competition, and as a citizen, a literate citizen, to go to the active citizenship in a technological society. Yeah, and for many of our current kindergarteners now, right? We could not imagine. I mean, the first job they will take after graduating college in some years do not even exist yet, I'm sure, right? For example, we have here 50% of the current jobs will done with the robot, with the things that the artificial intelligence will be dominated, and also how that Dr. Eric Vance also explain us about the data science, that the things that will be grow very rapidly in the next decades. And then we need to prepare students with the future, with artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, robots, and also big data, rich data science that also mentioned before. And of course, we face the environmental problems that environmental support should have enough go to the next generation. And then from the earth science perspective, yes, we have to prepare students also for grand challenge to relate to this sustainable growth, food, climate change, and also environmental issues. Yeah, the things about the promise of STEM is to provide the foundation for developing the skill and technologies leading to the business innovation, which deliver high value added processes and product in a ways that are nimble and competitive. Yes, and many researchers in STEM, they have their own framework. They have the development of the research by their adaptive, but in the existing curriculum in some countries. And the challenge for educator is how to translate all of the idea, all of the issue, all of the political agenda into productive curriculum, and also a meaningful experience for the student. So many generations just interested to come to the STEM field. All right. And then when we go to STEM vision, right? The framing STEM is different between Indonesia. We have a similar development with the Thailand, with the Philippines, and the Malaysia as well. How we framing the STEM, yeah, how we can integrate the STEM, integrated STEM in the science learning, especially, and then a subject-oriented or interdisciplinary. I mean that thematic things and how we can integrate subject between the framing stems. And of course, the user need, I mean here is community as the engagement, how they can very, very useful to contribute to the curriculum development. And now, and start 10 years ago, I'm sure that teaching and learning in STEM practices and pedagogy is also developed very rapidly, and then the quality is improving, and of course the curriculum need adaptation in the start from the planning until the assessment itself. All right, as we can see here that in the integrated STEM is integrated approach, right? We know STEM is a field, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and what we talk here is about the STEM as an integrated approach in science learning. That you can also read in the FASTCAS 2015, describe the STEM is not a curriculum, right? This is an approach that remove traditional barriers separating for 4 disciplines and integrate to real-world rigorous and relevant learning. So they use their existing knowledge, they use the existing skill to solve the real-world problems. Yeah, and here, as you can see, the integrated approach for science learning, for mathematics learning, for earth science learning, or we call it geography here in junior high school, that connects 2 or more STEM content and skill to solve a real-world problem. The difficulties and the challenge now by the teachers, that faced by the teacher at school, that they're not really well connected with the STEM content, with the STEM context. That's a thing that also find in the next, you can find in the next slide. Here the books that I taught you before. This is a book from FASTCAS, yes, it talk about the STEM lesson essential, and you can also see that the book itself, there is a how we can help the teachers, how we can help the students, pre-service teachers to do the lesson, especially here in the science teacher, to deepen the STEM approach, how to go to the target. I'm sure that you have already familiar with this one. Yes, this is how is the STEM integration to be conceptualized until now, right? Now we have the new curriculum Merdeka or independent curriculum, but still limited school that can implement the new curriculum, but most of the schools still use or implement the curriculum 2013 or 2013 curriculum, that we know there is a scientific approach that of course helps to do and then help to promote the 21st century skill that, as you know, yeah, as a learning outcome, student learning outcome. And then here we can see there are 4 conceptualization from STEM integration step with disciplinary, this is, or we call it in silo, right? The silo model, and then multidisciplinary. And here is student learn concept and skill, or knowledge and skill separately in each discipline, but the reference is a common theme. I think this is also common in Indonesia. And then when we see the interdisciplinary, student learn concept, skills from 2 or more disciplines that are tightly linked and deepen knowledge and skill. This is the challenge when we want to implement the concept in school. They have to collaborate between subject to subject in science, mathematics, even art can come there, or informatic science. to solve the real problem that faced by community, and also by the industry need, and also to solve the problems in the environment. And then the next one is transdisciplinary. So by undertaking the real world problems project, and here a student apply knowledge and skill from 2 or more discipline that help to shape the learning experience, right? The things all of when you can go to this, the first concept or the second concept and or the third concept here, multidiscipline, interdiscipline, and also transdiscipline, we see that all of the things is have aims, objective that every students that come to school can be more interested to go to the STEM career, and then they are enjoying to do the science, they are enjoying to do the math, engineering, right? In some countries, we know there is a special engineering education, right? There is a subject engineering education that implement in junior high school even, yeah, but we haven't had yet. So how we can conceptualize the engineering design in this concept of a STEM integration? Yeah, and then when we go go to school, yeah, there are something that very important to do. Yeah, the first is the promotion of mathematics and science is respond to the downturn in student interest. Yes, mathematics. No, I'm not interested to mathematics. We hope that not every pupils, not every students said that. And of course, when they go to science, they will very happy, they interested, excited to go to science class. And then an emphasis on engineering design, technology design, process into new experiences, right? Now, teachers at schools, teachers at higher education, if only when they give the STEM course to the students, they try to integrate the engineering design process. Yeah, as you know, the syntax, the step of the learnings, and what the activity that can we can start, and then what kind of activity that can trigger the idea, and then they can go to failure and then revise the idea again. And of course here, because we are now in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, the digital technology is a must. Yes, and then how about how to improve? I mean that increase the computational thinking of the students that use in the STEM related areas. Yeah, in the teaching and learning. Yeah, and of course, the fourth is the use of real world problem solving as the context for learning, including making links with the local industry and really know what happened in surroundings, and then what happened in the political things that need to have support with the idea from the citizen, idea from student. I'm sure the student they will very interested to go this one. Yeah, and then of course to emphasize on STEM skills or 21st century skill or practices that this is linked to the world of professional and STEM work, how the engineer do in the industry. They have to face how to develop the new design of car, the new design of a computer, or new design of the technology, that the design always involved with the test, with the plan, with the test, the fail, and then revise, and then make again as an engineering loop that we know. And of course, the integration of traditional classes or development of STEM classes. Some school with the human resources that already comprehend with the STEM learning, STEM approach, they have a specific STEM classes or STEM course. but most of them integrate in the traditional classes in science, traditional classes of mathematics, because they are still in between to go to the deeper application for STEM learning before go to the transdisciplinary. Yeah, and in Central Java, in West Java, in East Java, even in Indonesia, many teachers and then many educators in the higher education is so well informed with the STEM practice and then with the STEM teaching and learning, right? We have already talked about the STEM education policy, STEM education framework, and then the approach before we are going to go to the STEM teaching and learning. The things that we have to take it further to go to the STEM teaching and learning, yes, to promote all of the things that I have already mentioned before. So it is related with the 3 points, yeah, here that I cite from the Campbell and Hobbes, the problem context from community and industry. Yeah, many research in some countries has already involved the industry to do with what the students doing at school. We are conducting this idea, but not in a firm way, and then we have to strengthening with the promoting with for the, I mean, the regular things can go, and the problem context always from community and the industry. Yeah, this is related with the child community, yes, and of course a local community surrounding school. Some student here in junior high school in Surakarta, the school is just around the industrial area, so they experience the air pollution issue, they experience the wastewater pollution, they experience noise even when they have this. But still, some teachers have not yet integrate those things to come to the science learning. Yes, the industrial area is we can find many places here in Indonesia. Yeah, and the next is about the curriculum. Yes, the curriculum itself, of course, about the innovation. The innovation is not always with the new idea, the very clear 100% idea, but we can start with the refinement and then reinvention, evolution, and also revolution. Yes, and then the integration of STEM subject, we are trying to get this as a implementation of the new curriculum and also the curriculum before curriculum 2013. Yeah, and what the things that we have to maintain. Sorry, here there is people in the waiting room. Okay, teaching and learning activity, the skill sets, I mean that here there is a STEM, right, related to the STEM career, and then 21st century skill that we know as a creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and also communication. And we have to promote this one, and of course the attitude itself, how the student can be reflective, yeah, reflect the problems, reflect what they are doing, reflect what they are not knowing before, and then the risk-taking and also resilience. That the things that in the 21st century skills and also attitude should promote maximally. And of course, the pedagogies that involve, yeah, start with the we can go with the inquiry learning, and then design-based engineering design process, project-based learning, problem-based learning. Most of the implementation of STEM learning that I'm sure that here colleague from ONY and also other universities, most of us is easy when we go with the project-based learning, right? This is just only one of the example. We can go with the design thinking. We can go with the problem-based learning, even with the inquiry one. Yeah. All right. And then with the problem context that I have already mentioned before, for the driven problems from the communities, it's very important. What problems can you identify from the following communities? I'm sure that socio-scientific issue and then local wisdom that published in some publication from Indonesian scholars already promote this one, but we also promote the environmental and social political things to promote problem solving, right? Creative problem solving and also other 20% of the skill. Here in the child community that I have already mentioned before, this is the main core that we can elaborate the learnings and then go to the local communities, right? Going wider and then to the global communities. I will show you that the student in the pre-service teachers trainings also promote and also doing the workshop, how start with the child, local communities, and even the global communities, so they can know that they are not only in subtropical countries, but tropical countries, but they know the problems in the subtropical countries and then another part of the world. Yeah, all right. And then after problem context, right, that I have already mentioned with the 3 points before, the STEM skills and processes, of course, we involve the learning and innovation skills, that creativity, innovation, critical thinking, problem solving, and of course, life and career skills. Most of the teachers that we work together, not that well informed and then not well how to promote the STEM career to the students when they are teaching at class. We should go to this the career skill, and then the teacher should have this one. Yeah. And then when we want to promote the STEM skill, how the students will have the flexible reasoning skill, how the student can go to the adaptable use of disciplinary practice and knowledge, and of course engage in disciplinary language. In a World Economic Forum, we know the update for the 10th rank. I think the skill that they have to we have as a teacher, the teacher at school, we have to promote this one, and we have to train the students with the complex problem solving. Now we know that the first rank, the skill that they have to comprehend is analytical thinking, part of the critical thinking, right? Creativity, problem solving, collaboration, critical thinking, and also communication and taking initiative here. Yeah. And then the last one is about the innovations. After I talk about the context, the problem context, and then the STEM skill that involve the students 20% learning promotion. This is the innovation result when we implement the creative idea, the process of the creative idea to the students. Start with the refinement first, yes, making small changes, enhancing with the new features, and also the invention, adding new features to differentiate a number of versions, and evolution, yeah, significant changes the existing product. So this is the process. We when we know the NGSS, Next Generation Science Standard, they have the students' learning outcome when in kindergarten with this topic, what kind of activity that they use, they have to comprehend. And then when go to the elementary school, and then when they go to the junior high school, and even when they go to senior high school, there is a different kind of student learning outcome with the same theme, with the same context. And the last one is a revolution of the new ideas, that here we can see how the students can create the new things of the project, of the product. Yeah, this is about the STEM education. And then I'm going to a short brief about STEM education in Indonesia. We know that research in STEM education, when we read the publication, start in 2014. Yes, start with the Teachers Challenge, how the curriculum integrated with the STEM issue, and then the theme that dominant here, we can see that the approach and then learning model strategy to implement the STEM teaching and learning is dominant, yeah, for about 61.7%. And then we also see that the teaching, the research about the STEM related to module, lesson plan, and then the STEM learning assessment, here there is a 7%. Teaching materials, we have a 9%, and then student worksheet. And with the media, yeah, some research also promote the use of teaching and learning media for about 11%. Can see, of course, a colleague here, a participant here, of also one of the researchers and researchers that publish in the related research team. And then for the STEM implementation research by location, if we can see here how West Java and East Java is still dominant with the location with when the STEM research implemented, yeah, and then with the Central Java and Yogyakarta is also have these ones with the fourth area that have a STEM implementation by location. We can see that all mostly province in Indonesia have already implemented the STEM implemented research. Yeah. And how about the level of education? Yes, from the early childhood education, elementary education, junior high school, senior high school, even vocational high school, and we can see here for the percentage. And the university, of course, they are doing the teacher education, professional development for about 16.2% in the level of education in implementing STEM teachers and research. Yeah. And about the STEM teachers, yeah, professional development is very related with the STEM teacher, the good STEM teachers, the excellent STEM teachers, they will have the quality, the high quality learning, they have the quality student learning outcome. So the teachers is the thing, the most contributor for the successful of STEM learning. Yeah, so we need a motivated and skilled teachers as the key, right, to enable students to meet the challenge of tomorrow that we have already discussed before. And then it means that students need experienced teacher who masters in integrating STEM, yeah, STEM learning. Many research report the teacher difficulties in implementing STEM education that faced by the teachers at school, even in early childhood education until higher education. And then we know that the teacher's perception is still varied. They still have difficulties of also to integrate this STEM teachers and learning. Yeah, as we can see that more than 1,000 studies examine about the effect of teacher preference development that focus that how the science teachers can increase the student achievement, right? And then with the professional development for in-service teachers and also pre-service teachers, more than 50% can increase the student achievement or student learning outcome. Yeah, as based on the curriculum in junior high school, in senior high school, or elementary school. And professional development, of course, very important, especially in engineering here, that we have to promote and then strengthening this part to train our pre-service teachers, and then to work with the in-service teachers at school to have the good quality of STEM learning in science, in mathematics, or other subject. And then related to the teacher professional development, we see that in Indonesia, most, especially I talk in junior high school, in junior high school, now the dominant teachers is the graduate from the biology education and also physics education, and start 2010, we have already science teachers that have already integrated knowledge and skill between physics, between biology, chemistry, and also earth science. And also the things how the STEM teachers is promoted. And teacher preparation, teacher professional development, teacher education, connected strongly with the policies, how the policy in this area in our country, how to promote the PCK for STEM, or we call it PCK STEM. And PCK STEM comprises orientation to teaching STEM, knowledge and also STEM curriculum, knowledge of learner understanding in STEM, and knowledge of instructional strategies for teaching STEM, and of course, knowledge of assessment of STEM learning. So start with they success for the planning the STEM learning, and then they develop the learning toolkits that develop until the learning assessment, how they can assess the student performance, how they are successful with how to integrate all of the facilities to support the STEM learning. This is a part of the PCK STEM orientation. And I give two examples of science teacher professional development in our neighbor. I just only pick two countries that similar with us within this development of Philippines. In the Philippines, that in service teacher training for a STEM, mostly conducted by the ministry. This is a very systematically workshop training for the in-service teachers in junior high school, in senior high school, even in elementary school. And also they are doing collaboration between private companies and higher education. We are still want to do this kind of activities, how we can optimize private companies to work with the higher education. And they conduct the series of training programs on the engineering design process. This is one of the program that conducted in the Philippines. And of course, in the pre-service teachers, we know that mathematics teachers graduate, science teacher graduates come from teacher education program like us in Indonesia, go to the faculty of teacher training or in the Department of Education to have the professional knowledge. They have the professional or PCK STEM, and then they can promote the knowledge and also the skills. And for talent, the Philippines, I think when we see the result of the PISA test, the Philippines was than us, but in Thailand is better because the STEM appropriate teaching practices they doing in Institute of IPST, National Center for STEM Education Agencies. It's more systematic and structured in Thailand. And the PCK-based STEM professional development programs for in-service teacher is also conducting very structured and systematic. Yes. And for pre-service teachers, this is the thing that we are doing as well, but not optimal. It's related with the lesson study in the context of science teaching. I mean, now I'm finishing to review the books from Associate Professor Theo Tangwi from NIE that asked me to do to review the first book of trend STEM education in Asia, because in that book we haven't read about Indonesia. So we are still not really by NIE, yeah, that STEM education in Indonesia is already well implemented. Using the literature review that the fourth professional development model for STEM teachers, yeah, in-service teachers and also for pre-service teachers or student teachers in higher education, they are doing with the intensive workshop and then STEM lesson study, and some country also have a STEM academy. And we know, of course, from some research group from professor, some expert from another country also have a STEM summer course, STEM camp in Indonesia, but not all of teacher can involve on that program. And of course, the STEM course is also popular in higher education, that most of course in the science education pre-service teacher program, they have STEM course here, even as a obligatory course in the science education. When we go to the literature review and then discussion with the expert of STEM researchers, we conceptualize the authentic and collaborative professional development program with the six activity. Start is promote strengthening the STEM, PCK STEM, I mean, and then the creative learning tool kits development with the program that running by the department in my department as well, and also the cycles and reflection throughout the program. And then this is the things that we are conducting now, the collaboration between in-service teachers, researchers, experts, and also pre-service teachers to develop the creative learning toolkits in higher education. And of course, here there is a real world problem that as the theme and then as a target, that because this is the difficulties of teachers when they are doing the learning, how to connect the abstract concept of the science and real world context. And of course, the engagement in inquiry, we are using multi-model in a STEM project to do to reach the student learning outcome. Yeah, this is one of example that we are doing professional development here. The study in systematic strategy in STEM professional development in the 2 years research. This is can involve the groups of pre and in-service teachers, yeah, even expert and also professional in STEM field. And we are using the participatory action research as a research design. Here you can see the participatory action research process that we are doing in professional development. Yes, start with the input with the teacher's perception, in-service teachers, especially we are also researching the pre-service teacher, how they perceive the STEM learning, and of course the teacher's experience close to the teacher's challenge, and then also teacher's knowledge, yes, because perception and knowledge is quite different, and then experience of professional, and then come together to go to the cycle to develop the professional development model that authentic can be implemented in the higher education, pre-service teacher professional development in the university. The cycle start with the this is the cycle. So professional development model with the workshop, with the lesson study, how the collaboration between in-service teacher and pre-service teacher when they are doing when they are developing the lesson plan, and then implementing of STEM learning, evaluation, reflection as a cycle, and then the entity that involved is researchers on STEM research group, and then professional in STEM field, pre-service teachers, and also in-service teachers. This is the in-service teachers. We select the experienced teacher that have a teaching period more than 15 years. And then the process, we have the theoretical foundation for professional development, knowledge and skill of teachers that we are preparing, and also train teachers, both in and pre-service teachers, and of course the framework model to implement in the next 3 years for the evaluation of this professional development. Yeah. So from the teacher perception first, yeah, this is for the analysis, the first come before we go to the professional development. We study 32 science teachers, the experienced science teachers, to have their perception, and that's and that's the 32 science teachers is already have the teaching period more than 15 years, and then they have already joined, and then they have experience to go in the STEM workshop more than 5 times, yeah, for 5 times a period of the workshop. And then here we also analyze the teacher practice, yes, before the professional development that we are conducting, the challenge, and of course the reflection in workshop on STEM in the higher education. Yeah, I'm sure that this result is not quite surprising for everybody here, because every teacher has a good perception on STEM integration. They agree that the application of STEM in the classroom will promote the 21st century learning, and then development of STEM-based learning tool is very important to implement the high quality of the STEM science learning. And then STEM contribution in learning is 100%. They agree. So this is the thing that we can go. This is 100%, right? Because they know the contribution for 21st century skill for the next generation. This is as the things, the fundamental for us to develop the new or for the next agenda for the professional development. Yeah. When we go about the perception of STEM integration, that more than 30% teachers, yeah, more than 30% teachers, they perceive that they understand how to integrate STEM in the class. Yeah. And the teacher refers that integrating in 4 discipline, even they are still go, oh, this is co-mathematics, this is co-science, this is for engineering and technology, but they know this kind of perception to do the science class with the STEM learning. And then more than 50% teachers had STEM learning less than 3 times. We exclude that the numbers, yes, because we only select that the teachers that more than 5 STEM workshop in higher education or in the ministry that conduct the STEM training. Yeah, and then the development of STEM survey, because we are conducting the STEM survey to go to the teachers' experience to see the challenge of the teachers. We develop the STEM survey items and also observation protocol for STEM learning. Start with the analysis of quality STEM instruction based on the relevant funding before, yeah. And of course, the collaborative development of the item is between researchers, and then we are conducting literature review and group discussion, what kind of item that we will use to implement to see the teacher's challenge at school. And the next is we already decide this item level to see the teacher's challenge and the teacher's experience at to do the STEM learning. And then the last is item description and also scoring. Yeah. So this after discussion how to go to see the teacher's challenge easily, even by the team, we decide to go with the six indicator here about the PCK STEM: evaluation, explanation, engagement, practice, confidence, and also time management. Time management always become problems when we want to see the perception. We want to see the perspective of teachers at school. So we put this one as one of the result of the focus group discussion. And then the teachers challenge here, we are conducting a survey. Yes, we did also classroom observation, document analysis, and the interview. Yes, in the think aloud interview. Yeah, I can pick one of some of the results here in the PCK STEM. Yes, the in-service teacher, the category is good. Yeah, and then the teachers understanding, interpreting the meaning of STEM, they have this understanding. How to integrate those four field, yeah, those four contexts, those four concepts to go with the science learning. And the evaluation, they know that when they are doing the STEM learning, not only cognitive, they do the performance assessment, they do assessment for learning, and also the category here is in a good category. And related to the explanation, explanation how they connected relevant concept with STEM project, the category are not categorized is as low, not is sufficient. I mean, they have to be strengthened with this part, but during the observation, teachers only use worksheet to implement the project that they have already planned in the lesson plan. Yes. And how about the engagement practices? Yes. Of course, in the cute category, because they know that they have to do it in groups, they have to do collaborative learning, they have to do scaffolding technique applied to support students when they refine the idea, when they revise the project, something like that. Because all of the teachers that we have already research have experience more than 15 years, and also they go to the STEM workshop, the confidence, the confirmation from those teachers that we are interviewing, that we are observe in their classroom, they confess that they confidence to do the STEM learning. And time management, of course, this time management is strict schedule is a big obstacle for them. And then here is, they know that this is about the lack of their activity management, time management itself, but personal management. Yeah, that's about the in-service teacher. And then what the result that we got in service teachers study, we put in the STEM professional development for pre-service teachers, because we conducting this, it's a long period. We start with the course on STEM. Yes, here in my department is still as an elective course, but semi-obligatory, because most more than 80% of the students go to the STEM course. Even they go to the other university, when they do the student exchange, they take this STEM course. And the other is integrated STEM workshop. This workshop is conducting 6 times, 6 times between teachers, pre-service teacher, and also in-service teachers, when they are doing, they are developing the lesson plan. There's a very systematic and structured workshop. And then we also have a meeting STEM micro teaching. Yes, in this micro teaching, the experienced students, I mean, they come from the another cohort. I mean, the level is higher than the students in 5th semester and also 7th semester. There we have 8 meetings, STEM micro teaching together, experienced students, and also the students that take the micro teaching or attend the micro teaching. And then we do the collaborative workshop. This collaborative workshop is between expert in STEM learning. Yes, we invite expert, and then in-service teachers and also pre-service teachers work together in one group. And then the last is reflection. We are still working with this reflection session and also dissemination. And the STEM in the STEM micro teaching here that we have 8 meeting STEM teaching activities, and the STEM module and the revision we successful have 10 topics. Yes, start from they plan by themselves before they come to the workshop. Okay, and then revise because there is input from the in-service teachers and also from experienced students, even from the researchers and the teachers. And then the last is they try to cross-check and then consult with the expert, with the collaborative workshop. This is for 8 hours collaborative workshop between students, pre-service teachers, and then in-service teachers, researchers in one group. So we conduct it offline, and then we invite experts, and then it is to strengthening the application of engineering design process, EDP, and to make sure that what they have producing in the learning toolkits in STEM is as well, and then validate and then have input and have the feedback from the expert as well. And this one is engineering design process. We start with define, a student try to define the problems. Okay, how we go to the solution, because the STEM not only come from the problems, but can come from the solution. It can come from the user need. Yes, most of us use like science letters, and then the letters from company that they need something to solve. So this is kind of the basic topics that we can use in the science teacher. As I mentioned before, in the problem context, we start with the child community, local community, and the global community. That I pick here from the expert, because the expert is from another continent and also another part of the world. They bring the we discuss the theme. We discussed the theme before with the expert, and then we put this global context related to penguin. I'm sure that some teachers that have already joined some workshop with the expert, Professor Jillian Ruri, you have already know where do penguin live, and then we put this problem as the basic things to discuss, to define, and then how we can introducing the real world problem, and then defining the engineering design challenges, and then the students and then the teachers and then the researchers asked to build the project, the simulation of the workshop from the definition of the problem, and then define the solution. They're very enthusiastic to work as a group. Yes, consists of pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, and also expert of researcher of STEM. Yes, here is a lecturer and also a practitioner. And then we know that the sign lesson that use is about the heat transfer insulator. Start with the lesson, how the global context come here when you want to bring the code things, and then want to save the low temperature is still low without anything in summer. We can save it in the summer, like that. Okay. And the storyboard, the teachers, pre-service teachers, and also researchers have a storyboard, how they can work with these problems, how we can solve the problem with a very effective and efficient. And this is also the things that they are having. We have 10 groups of collaboration between in-service teacher, pre-service teacher, and also researchers of STEM to do this, to strengthening this professional development model for pre-service teacher. And then from the workshop, the reflection is the real world problem and context is still challenging for teachers, even pre-service teachers. And then they need the engineering design process implementation, that teachers guidelines should be provided. That's the thing that we in the next term of the project, as a bridging before they are very independent to do the STEM learning, we provide the teachers guideline for implementation of engineering design process. And here, as we know in the explanation step of the teachers challenge, that the abstract concept of science and student learning outcome, the teachers still have difficulties to connect it this one. Yeah. This is that I said from the integrated STEM from the Professor Jaluri, the 6 things that we have in the STEM practices is about the context, engineering practice, how to go plan and then test, and then you will fail and then you will revise, and then to engage social cultural aspects, start with the child community, the family, and then local community, what in surrounding like industrial area, as well as in the global knowledge, right? Because we should see what happened in another part of the world. Yeah. And the next things that we would like to do in the next projects is the dissemination of in the teachers forums in the district of Solo Raya, not only in Surakarta, but we have 6 regency here to have this dissemination, to have to implement 10 modules to go to the school with we start with the local community problems, and then to develop, and then of course we encourage they to have the STEM teachers community here, because we haven't had yet. Yeah. Okay, that's the thing that I would like to present for this morning in ICRIEMS 2022. Thank you very much. So laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Norma Yunita Indrianti, for giving such an informative and comprehensive presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the question and answer or discussion session, and we are glad to receive so many questions from chats, and due to time limitation we are going to select some questions. Let me share the question from the participants. Okay, the first question from Widodo Setiowibowo. Thank you for the insightful presentation, Dr. Norma. In STEM learning, creativity is one of the important things to be fostered to our students. However, what kind of technique and instrument we can use to assess creativity effectively and easily? Dr. Norma, please answer this question.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bula Iva. Thank you, Pak Widodo Setiowibowo, for your questions. Yeah.
Please unmute.
Oh, sorry. Could you? I have already unmuted here. Could you hear my voice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not muted, right? Okay, thank you, Mr. Widodo Setiowibowo, for your questions. This is the interesting questions because this is the challenge also for the teachers to do the assessment, especially as a teachers. Yeah, as a teachers, what we have in a professional development, we start with the specific criteria for the specific skills that we would like to assess. I mean, like creativity in the project, right? Creativity is involved with the idea, with the process, and also with the product. But when we are going to have the workshop, we start first with the creativity of the idea. So the creativity of the idea, we have the rubric. Yeah, we have the rubric to go to the idea itself first, and then the idea can come to the proposal, how to do it this one, how the idea is really original, and then how the student can get this idea, something like that. So I mean, we can start with a very simple step first with the kind of activity or creativity that we would like to assess. Yes, idea and then process and then project. Not all of the things or all the three things can assess because it's very overwhelming. We can do all of the things. That's why the STEM lesson study is very important. So pre-service teachers and also in-services can collaborate, and then they can do as researchers as well as teachers. That's hopefully it is answer the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Norma Yunita, for the answer. Hopefully, it can answer the question from Widodo Wibowo. And the next question is come from Nur Fitriana. Thank you, Dr. Norma, for your outstanding presentation. Should students make a project when they are participated in STEM learning? Because, in my opinion, the implementation of STEM learning is related to engineering design process. How about if the students have less interest and perception towards STEM? Does it will affect the successful of STEM implementation? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So this question is come from Bu Nur Fitria, is that correct?
Yes.
Laifa,
Yes.
yes. Thank you for the questions. It's very nice questions. Yeah. So why we conduct or why we plan the learning with the project, this is one of the things that we would like to attract their interest, Bu Nur. So we know when we talk about the theory of generation, how the generation, Alpha generation, how the Z generation, they are very happy to go outside. They are very happy to do something, not only because they are is already exposure with all of the things. That's why we do the project. But not only the project, we can start, for example, that what we have already conducted here in our research group. So when we start to explain about the heat, for example, right? The heat, for example, how we can there is a letters or there is things that need by the user in the industry. They have the product of the fish production, the fish production, and then the fish, it should be kept in the cold, in the cold. So the things that the problems is that how we can keep the fish fresh until when we are bring to the market. So the thing that they should to plan, or they should to have to create the prototype first, the idea first, what kind of materials that the student will use, that the things, and then we can provide it with the choice of the materials that, for example, that I can that I have already shown to you, the choice of the sample of the material that we can use, and then the different kind of the how they can keep the temperature of the materials, that the thing. So not only about the project, but you can start with the idea. Yes, the idea first, and then after that you can go to the context, for the local context related to the how to store fish fresh when we come to the market. That's the answers.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Norma Yunita, for the answer. So the next question from Ibnu Wanye. The application of STEM in vocational school is less than optimal, especially in electronic majors. Some of the problems faced include the lack of STEM supporting learning media and teachers' understanding of STEM syntax. How we can be better educate teacher to implement STEMs.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Pak Ibnu from Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta. That's interesting questions. The vocational high school is challenging, but the engineering design process, I think is a stronger implement in vocational, hopefully, yes, because you have the things that the students, they are very eager to explore, to promote their skill, to increase their skill activity, how to design something, especially an electronic major, and then learning media. So the what I already mentioned, that the collaboration between the higher education and also the professionals to do the STEM learning is very important. So educate teachers, the collaboration between school and also higher education should be strengthening, right? The community services from the higher education around, yeah, it is a must. I mean, it is a must. Even in the vocational high school, we do some as well for chemistry, and then we do the STEM project with the vocational high school, and then to do with the community, this small community with the teachers in vocational high school. So we can start with the collaboration, invite teachers, and then collaborate with the in-service pre-service teachers when they planned, when they plan the learning STEM learning to kids, and this one we did, this program we did in the micro teaching class. We invite practitioner, I mean the teachers from the vocational high school, collaborate with the in-service teachers, and then they develop this one in chemistry part.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Norma Yunita.
Yeah.
That is a very detailed answer to the question, and if I may add, so in every major that have their own challenge in implement STEM, also in vocational school, which is focus on engineering aspect. Okay, thank you, Dr. Norma Yunita. We going to the next question from Fajar Hardoyono from UIN Purwokerto. The first question, toward the society of Industry 5.0, in which is digital literacy, robotics, and artificial intelligence become the driver of society, which are the STEM components be in to introduce the computer and digital literacy as the part of STEM learning. So
I cannot hear you, Bu Laifa.
okay, excuse me because any technical problem. I will repeat the second question, which is the appropriate students' learning level to introduce the computer and digital literacy as the part of STEM learning. Should it begin from elementary school or higher level? Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Fajar Hardoyono from UIN Purwokerto for the questions. Yes, very clear that now we are in society 5.0, and then those things, those are issue is faced by our next generation. I mean that what I already mentioned, like in World Economic Forum, there are 10 the most important skill that should comprehend by the students. Start with the analytical thinking first, and then creative problem solving, how they can use the digital media, how they can use the digital things to do with all of the things, especially computational thinking in mathematics. So I mean, in the STEM competencies that related to the digital literacy, of course, is digital literacy itself, and then how they are preparing for the mathematics, analytical thinking, and then when they do the complex problem solving. That the thing, the most three things that we can you can read also there, and then how we can dig their skill on those competencies. And then the second one is about the computer and digital literacy. Yes, some of my research group is also working with the digital literacy. So we should start earlier as possible. I mean, we start in elementary school, the mathematics, how they can do with the computer, because as a Z generation or Alpha generation, when they are born, they have already no gadget, they have already no iPad, they have already no computer. So we should start here as early as possible. I mean, we just differentiate between the learning outcome, what kind of literacy, digital literacy, I mean, from the in elementary school, yeah, digital literacy, we have some aspect of digital literacy, how they can start with to do with coding, right? Because now in elementary school, we have a student, even in the first grade, we have a coding subject. That's my answers. Thank you, Pak Fajar.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Norma Yunita. So, STEM can be applied since from the elementary school students, and we know that now the Z generation have their digital literacy as daily routine, so it's not something new for them. Okay, the next question. From Ramadian UNY, thank you for the deep and interesting presentation about STEM learning, Dr. Norma. I have a question about the implementation of STEM in teaching learning activity. Does project in STEM need to be conducted outside the classroom on multiple occasions or meetings, so it will be more complex, or it could be conducted with small project in only one meeting at the class? Please give us an example if it could be conducted in one meeting. Thank you.
Oh yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Mas Ramadian from UNY for the questions. Yeah, for implementing STEM in the science teaching a science learning activity. Okay, we can start with one of them is the project-based learning. But for project-based learning, we could not do in one meeting. I mean, the process when they have the idea until they go start to refine the idea, how they revise the idea when they fail. When based on my experience, I mean that what I have already conducted with the teams is a very impossible to do in one meeting. I mean that we should plan it more than one meeting, even at home. I mean, in the pandemic era, we couldn't STEM at home, right? And then related to it should be conduct outside, not should be just look at the students' learning outcome. And then when you can go this with the more integrated field, I mean, how to do with the community, how to collaborate with the company, it is better when you do this. But you have to maintain also the time, and then the things, not all subjects also can be optimized with this STEM learning. So you have to refine which one is the best to do, but it's okay. It should be not always in the outside the classroom. We can go and then we can do this inside the classroom. For example, in my project, that one of the modules that produced by the in-service teachers and pre-service teachers, this is the context of Tata Surya, yeah, Tata Surya order. And then in this kind of topics, okay, they know the sun, they know the earth, they know the the stars, but the things, the idea that have by my students as well as together collaboration with the in-service teachers, the problems is about how they can develop, how they can develop the safety classes when there is a eclipse, in the sun eclipse. That's a thing that's very interesting one. And then we observe the idea of this group, and then even my students also researching about the student participation in that group. Which one is real engineer? Which one is real technician? Because this is the new what do you call it? The new topic. I mean, in one group, when we do the STEM learning or the students conducting STEM project, sometimes we find the students very active. They have all idea. They have the how to lead the group, how they lead the manager, and then we develop the indicators to see which one that's participation is like engineer, and then which one is technician. This is the things, so the teachers can have much information when the students in this technician area, they should they should go to the higher level to the engineer, because what the goals of the STEM project is how they can think as a designer, right? I mean, as an engineer, they can design, they can fail, they can revise. So the things, Pak Mas Ramadian, for my answers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Dr. Norma. It can be known that in the STEM characteristic generally conduct in more than one meeting, and also it's because the STEM process needs a lot of activity to do, and then students can get the benefits of the STEMs. Okay, thank you. And then the next question from Nurul. Dear Dr. Norma, could you please tell me the reason why you choose participatory action research in your study, and what is the difference with lesson study?
Iya, thank you very much, Bu Nurul. Ini Bu Nurul teman saya sepertinya ya, dari Unmul. Semoga betul. Betul ya Bu Nurul ya. Oke, boleh Bu Nurul kalau misalnya mau open mic. Jadi, and then this why I choose participatory action research. I mean, this is the choice that we discuss with the team groups, how we can develop this one, come from the input and the feedback from the experience. Because when we do the action research, what we have already done, it is more details, it is more widespread, and then we can collaborate in the cycle of all of the entities that I have already mentioned, with professional expert teachers and also the pre-service teachers. But we can use also the lesson study. This is similar, but in participatory action research, we not only have this research as a cycle, but we also conducted research. And then what I have already mentioned before to previous person that asked my questions, because we do the research, expanded research that come together with the implementation of STEM learning. So that those kind of consideration make us to do the participatory action research, and then we cite from the adaptation, the participatory action research that already developed in science education by Ike and Raleigh. That's very interesting to have this one, and then to develop until we success with the next things that we would like to do is dissemination, and also to have the learning communities in STEM teachers. Thank you, Bu Nurul from Unmul.
Okay, okay. So the participatory action research is chosen because it can capture more of the participants' role. Okay, thank you, Bu Nurul, for the question. And then next to Mr. Aslan. What a very insightful presentation. I want to ask, how do we implement STEM learning in online learning scheme?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Aslan, for the questions. Yes. For last 2 years, we have the pandemic era. We should do the learning in online, and then of course we can do the STEM activity here is STEM at home. I mean the STEM at home, we can do the STEM learning at home, and then we can have this in a blended learning design. And then when we go to the activity or syntax of the learning, we can ask the students to solve the problem that come to the problems in the family. I mean that I mentioned before, the problems can be in child, family, and then local, and also community. Then what we have done in the previous research is we ask the students to develop the things that what they can have related to the food when they have the self-quarantine. For example, for the self-quarantine for 14 days, what kind of the food that you would buy, and then you can store it, you can expand it in 14 days. This is the things that we also implement in the STEM at home. So start from the food at home, how they can measure the calorie, how the protein, carbohydrate, and also fat. Yes, can when we teach the students learning about the calorie and also the food in junior high school. This is just one of the example of the modules.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nurma Yunita. So STEM learning not only can be implemented in offline learning, but also can be implemented in online learning and also in blended learning scheme. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, apparently we still have anothermost question or topic to be discussed as we see them on the chat. Several questions have been answered yet, for example, from Asma Khairinisa, Sulistiawati, and Fatima Abdullah. But however, due to the limited time, we need to end our discussion session. Some selected remaining questions will still be addressed by the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally come to the end part of this keynote speech in day 2, the 9th ICRIEMS 2022. Before I close this session, I would like to ask Dr. Nurma Yunita, are there any final thoughts before we end today's session, or would you like to give some closing remark?
Yes. Okay, Bulaifa, thank you for the time. I wrote in the chat box my email address. So please, you can just share your questions and we can discuss more about the STEM implementation, especially what we have already done and we are conducting to go to the next level related to professional development for pre-service teachers. Just feel free to send the question. We can discuss as well as we can invite you if we do the next workshop with the expert professional and also the teachers. Yeah, so this is not really closing remark. I just want to make sure that we should do the hard work to promote those 21st century skills, especially in STEM learning, because as we know from 2014, we know from the research until now 2022, even in the 6 regencies that I have already research, teachers still lack of implementation of the teachers. So we as the researchers, we collaborate with the in-service teachers, invite them to the university, invite them as practitioners to go to to do with the pre-service teachers, our students. For example, in micro teaching class, just invite them, collaborate with them, and then the students as well as the in-service teacher can develop the things, the new things, even it is small, but we can contribute to the next STEM generation. So in 2045, we still can come to Indonesia, Mas. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Norma Yunita, for the concise closing remarks, and also for the invitation to your research. And also, ladies and gentlemen, you can still also discuss about STEM with Dr. Norma Yunita by sending her email. Okay, and then please allow me also to take some highlighted points from this today's session, that STEM could be solution of the learning, which is including inquiry, design-based, project-based, and problem-based. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Dr. Norma Yunita, we as the committee will give you a virtual certificate as an appreciation.
Thank you very much, Committee of ICRIEMS.
Okay. Thank you also for Dr. Norma Yunita to sharing interesting materials today. And ladies and gentlemen, please, I should remind everyone that we will be seeing you again on the parallel session, and we also invite you all on the 10th ICRIEMS, which inshallah will be held again next year. So see you all later, and thank you very much. Over to you, MC.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a break for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Please be ready for the next session at 12:20 p.m. Western Indonesian time. We will start the session at 12:30 p.m. sharp. Display.